NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today. Good evening, welcome to nufc Matters. It is me and Gibbo tonight. Supermac is otherwise engaged. He had a few technical issues, but he is with his family, so we've given him the night off, and he will be back next week to do the season review. So, John, just you and me.
Yeah, I think he's flown out to Australia. He fancies a game tomorrow. I think he's got to say he went down there twice as a player, you know, and I think he quite liked it. But it took him about 6 days, I think, to went by ship in those days.
Yeah, fantastic. Good stuff. Alan Little, I did go to see Bruce Springsteen last night, and he was absolutely fantastic. I saw him twice last year. Yeah, he's amazing live. I've got tickets for another event later in the year. He's 74, Alan, 75 this year, I believe. But yeah, that's why my voice is a bit croaky. Cracking night. It was at the Stadium of Light. Had a good wash when I got in, but it was a cracking night. And
best show at the Stadium of Light in the last year, I believe.
Well, yeah, the FA Cup wasn't bad either, but yeah, it was a great show.
That was the other one, yes.
He was in good voice there, the boss. So yeah, it was fantastic. But let's look back at the last game of the season, John. First of all, a great win for Newcastle, an away win, one which we needed after the disappointment against Brighton, first of all, with a draw at home, and then the defeat against Manchester United. But from our perspective, it was 3 points in the bag, another 4 goals, which broke a few records for us, but a good job all around. And the right Newcastle turned up, didn't they?
Yeah, and we needed that badly. And to a great extent, Steve, for me, that 190 minutes, the last game of the season, it summed up exactly what our season's been about. You know, we score a pile of goals and we let goals in. I mean, we're 3-0 up at half-time. We're absolutely cruising. Only Newcastle United could then turn it into a nail-biter to go back to 3-2 before we carry on and do 4-2. And it summed it up, didn't it? We score a lot of goals. We let a lot of goals in. And it was funny. That led to me having a good conversation this week with a few Newcastle United fans, some who live up here and other fans who are not they're football fans, not Newcastle fans, live away. And they were a bit surprised. We're talking about what we want in the transfer market because that's a big thing now. And it looks as if we're going to get 2 very, very quick signings through the door, Steve, on the free transfers. The Fulham centre-half that grew up at Man City and the kid that's down at Bournemouth who was signed for Bournemouth by Eddie Kelly. Was signed by Eddie when he was down there. Looks as if they'll both come on frees. That is terrific because it still leaves wiggle room with the financial fair play when we start paying transfer fees. So that is a big plus. We need the back saying too. We wouldn't believe it, would we, from a year ago, when we had the best defensive record in the whole of the Premier League with, I think, Man City just one season ago. And then this season, we're letting them in like confetti in the wind. I mean, just so easy. But we score a pile of goals. And I was talking to not a Newcastle fan, a football fan in the south, and he's saying, Gibbo, what do you want in the summer in this Brentford game? I said the Brentford game sums up what we want. We need defenders, and I think it's been said that by Eddie has accepted that. And I said we need a centre forward, and he was staggered in the. I would say we need a centre forward, and I can understand why he was staggered, because as he pointed out, he said, "We need a centre. You need a centre forward. You've topped 100 goals for the season in all competitions, and you've topped 80 goals in the Premier League, and you're saying you need a centre forward. Both are records. I mean, I think it's 63 years since we topped 100 goals in the top flight, and 85 goals in the Premier League is the best ever our Premier League return. We've got a centre forward, Isak, with 25 goals. We've got 3 players in double figures, Isak, Gordon and Wilson. Longstaff's got 8. Bruno's got 7, which is a good return from midfield for the pair of them. Those numbers used to be top scorers at Newcastle once upon a time. And we've got Barnes with 5, who was in no appearances at all, which is shown once Lady Luck smiles at him, he'll start scoring goals. But yet we do need a centre forward, in my opinion, and those figures mightn't indicate that. But yes, we've got Isak, 25. Is he going to get 25 again next year? Hopefully, but it's a big figure. And you look at the rest of it, Wilson's as fragile as it can get. And then we don't have a centre forward. All the others that I've mentioned are either goal-scoring wingers or attacking midfielders. So we need a centre forward. But it caused quite a bit of a surprise. The people that don't follow us every game looking from a distance saying, Newcastle want a centre forward. But I think we do, Steve, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I think there's room for improvement across the board, and it'll be very much a case of FFP. I mean, that's the key. They've got to work within the financial restraints. But I'd love to see another centre forward come in. A lot depends what happens with Callum Wilson, of course. The indications were that he was keen on potentially moving in January. There was lots of rumours about it, but nothing came of it. But I guess we see who goes out of the exit door first. But you've already mentioned Tosin and Lloyd Kelly. Two players coming in, both with Premier League experience, both on a free. That's great business to start with, and we need to make sure that we slot the players in that we need in the right positions. I think we'll still bring a goalkeeper in. I think it was very. It was a lot of question marks over why Dubravka didn't go to Australia. We'll come to that in a minute, but he, potentially another goalkeeper to come in and give Pope some competition. The defense, the defensive positions are sorted, but then midfield, what's going to happen in the midfield area? Are we going to lose somebody? We're going to lose a few of these fringe players and players who don't feature, but are we going to bring in? Are we going to rely on Tonali to come in and hit the ground running? Are we going to bring in another winger, somebody of equal measure alongside Gordon on the opposite side, or are we going to stick with Jacob Murphy and Almiron? You would imagine we might look for a right winger and a centre forward is something we need. So there's lots of question marks, and as usual, very little answers off Eddie Howe, John.
Yeah, he doesn't tell you anything, and that's fine, because just get the business done and we'll do it. I'm really boosted by the fact we're bringing 2 centre-halves in. We've been leaking goals by the sackload. We've also got Lascelles and Botman out till virtually Christmas, November time anyway. We need somebody to push Shaw, who's been terrific, but is on the wrong end of 30. So these 2 boys coming in at the right age and with pace and with experience, they can play centre-half. Fullbacks, we're good. Livramento has proved to be an absolutely outstanding signing. And Hall, bless him, I'm so thrilled for him at the end of the season, has looked what he is and why we took a gamble on him early, because he was getting a rough deal early on. He wasn't up to pace, etc., etc., etc. in a way, Tonali is going to be very interesting, Steve, because I hate the phrase because it's glib and it's put out so often. Oh, he's like a new signing. But Tonali is actually a new signing. He's 52 million. Now, did that make him something like the third biggest signing financially in Newcastle's history after Isaac and I mean, it is huge money, and he hardly played because of his ban. Now, is he going to play 6 or is he going to play 8? He can play both positions. Which one are they going to make him? Are they going to make him the defensive shield, or are they going to make him an 8? But he is very, very important. He owes it to the club and he owes it to himself. But more importantly, he's going to help us. But it doesn't just end there. I was very disappointed with the window 1 year ago in the summer. We didn't address a lot of positions, and we've got to address them this time. It looks as if we're going to with the 2 centre halves. I mean, yes, if we've got to sell established players to give us that room with financial fair play, then let it be Almiron and Wilson. Don't let it be Isaac, Gordon, or Bruno. If you're going to go somewhere, you keep those 3. And if you need wiggle room, then that is provided by Wilson and Almiron. And here's a ridiculous thought, and I don't think it'll happen. But what about Trippier? He's had an awful 2024. He was can I first of all say what a fabulous signing he has been for Newcastle? And he's been a flag bearer for us. He has rallied the troops on and off the field. He was the first signing of quality that committed himself to the cause when we were fighting relegation. And he just won La Liga. Now, that was wonderful. And he committed himself to the cause big time. And he come in here with a fabulous attitude. Bruno did exactly the same very quickly after him. The 2 of them were the flag bearers. But you look at Kieran, and he did terrific. And he's been terrific. He's been the guy that's done everything. But if you look, and next week when we're doing a review, which you're saying we will probably do a review of the season, at the end of last year, when he went to Chelsea and he made that mistake, remember where we lost in the League Cup in the 92nd minute or something. Since then, he hasn't had a good time. He hasn't looked quite the same player when he's come in the side in 2024. He hasn't looked, for me, the wonderful, wonderful player that he has been. He's 33 years old. He's going to get to the situation where he's not automatic in a top team. That's why he's so anxious to get fit and go with England this summer, because this is going to be his last England major tournament. It's called the law of averages. Age, it gets everybody. You even got Big Al. Everybody gets caught by age. And what we've got to remember is we've got Livramento standing just behind him, who is going to be a super, super, super player for as long as he wants to be. So there's a possibility what happens there. It's internal because we don't have to buy anybody. We've got Livramento. But how do you not play Livramento quite regularly next season, Steve? He is shown to be a quality player.
Yeah. I think, you know what, we'll talk about it more next week, but we've made some great signings, and I still think we'll see the best of Tonali next year. But Isaac's been amazing, and he continued his goal run yesterday in the friendly in Australia. And I just wanted to ask you what your thoughts were about Newcastle going to Australia at the end of the season. I mean, John, you've covered Newcastle for years. You know yourself. This was always common practice, friendlies. Sometimes we played friendlies halfway through the season. Sometimes friendlies are played at the end of the season. We always play friendlies at the start. It's your pre-season. But friendlies at the end of the season, other side of the world. Kieran Trippier wasn't happy. Alan Shearer spoke out against on Match of the Day. What was your views?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different ball game, friendly, Steve, isn't it? Depending on where they are and when they are. And pre-season, we go to Japan. We've been to America, etc., etc. That is quite the normal. Immediately after a long season, before the Euros and big internationals are coming, not just for England, but Brazil with Bruno, etc., etc. It's long seasons over. From a player's point of view, it's absolutely madness. And Trippier's talking from a player's point of view. And of course, Ali's, because Alan was a superstar player and didn't go into management. So he's looking at it with his player's hat on. And from their point of view, it is horrendous. However, Newcastle have got to, you can't have your cake and eat it as a club. You know, you can't say, well, we'll do this, and this, but we'll not make an effort to generate money, to generate interest. If our new owners, and I'm thinking mainly of the Saudis because they own 80% of it, so they're in charge of the whole ship. If they are going to expand Newcastle globally, then you've got to bite the bullet and do things like go for 6 days as far away as Aussie. Yes, it isn't ideal for players. It is absolutely horrendous. But players these days are paid an absolute fortune. And sometimes, you know, and who's paying that? The people that own the club, who are trying to make the club bigger so they can bring in better players, which will help the players we've already got and also help them to win trophies. So in the long term, there's something in it for them. But if you get paid the wages that you get paid today and you're asked to do something like Australia for the sake of the club, it is awful, but you do it. It's the price to pay for where you are. Newcastle United need to build their global stature, and going to Aussie in front of all the fans. There were 78,000 people at the game. That's how much Australia care about the Premier League and care about Spurs and care about Newcastle. Newcastle are doing huge PR things, fan things down there. They made as much money down there as we were saying off camera as will be made in the cup final on Saturday. It isn't ideal. It's horrendous for players, but you know what? Get on with it. That is the way life is now. If you're a top club, especially not so much perhaps if you're already an established top club like Man City or whatever, but if you're wanting to grow rapidly, like Newcastle are growing rapidly, every avenue's got to be looked at, and this is one of the avenues. It's unfortunate, it's difficult, but hey, get over it. The money you paid, I think you can afford a pillow to go to sleep on the aeroplane down there, don't you?
John, I tell you what, John, I would have gone, mate, for half the money.
Oh, me too, pal. Me too. I went over there for the Sydney Olympics, and it is a long trip. But you're allowed to go to sleep on it.
Yeah, you are. John, if I remember when Alan Shearer signed, the first thing he did was get on a plane to Thailand to play a friendly. It's kettle calling the frying pan, surely, I'm afraid, says Alan.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you've got to, when you think of the way Newcastle look after their superstars, the way they adore Bruno and adore Isaac and Gordon and keep them in cotton wool and do everything for them. Hey, this has put their nose out of joint a little bit. I can follow it because it's such a physical game. That's the end of the season, and we've staggered to the end of the season physically with all the injuries, etc. But if we've got to extend it by 1 week to go to Aussie to put this club on the footing where we want it to be, hey, if you get bored or if you feel sad or you feel upset on the long trip to Australia, why don't you get your bank book out and have a look at your bank balance and say, okay, I'll go there. All right, then.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And it was a great game. I did manage to get a chance to see it. Season ticket holders and members got the game for free. And it was a competitive game as usual. Newcastle should have won the game, but Maddison handballed and slotted the ball past Nick Pope. VAR would have picked it up, but there was no VAR yesterday. It was only a friendly. Alexander Isak scored in the 45th minute. A simple tap in for him. The keeper palmed it into his path after good work down the right-hand side by Murphy. And ultimately 1-1. Went to a penalty shootout. There was a look of amusement on Ange Postecoglou's face because he didn't actually realise it was going to a penalty shootout. He thought that was it. It was 1-1 and that was it.
I mean, it was a bit of fun for the Aussies, but it was flipping ludicrous, really. I mean, a penalty shootout. What have we brought a big cup back? Is that why there was a penalty shootout? And is that our first silverware since 1969? I don't think so. I mean, what was the penalty shootout about? Newcastle weren't certain about it either. I mean, all of a sudden, perhaps I hadn't found out the rules, but I don't think we're playing in a cup competition. And by the way, both sides, both sides have made so many changes. By the time the penalty shootout come, Newcastle had 5 kids out the kindergarten and an old age pensioner in goal, 4th choice goalie, and goodness, the changes they made. But it was a bit of fun, and even that was a bit of fun for us, because the first thing Gillespie did was save a penalty, and all 5 of the kids. And by the way, I think at least one of them, if not 2 of them, is going to get a free transfer in the summer.
We'll name check the lads. Joe White, Ben Parkinson, Amadou Diallo, Garen Kowal, all successful from the spot. And Harrison Ashby, of course, a signing last season. He scored the decisive penalty, if you like. But I felt, it was great experience for those lads, John, of that age, and many, not even double figures on the bench between them. I guess.
Diallo's getting a free transfer.
To take penalties in front of 78,000 people, it was a hell of an experience for them.
Of course it was. And, that was good fun and good. I tell you what, if that had been a cup final at Wembley and we put the 5 senior players out to take the penalties, I bet they wouldn't have scored 5 out of 5. Somebody would have missed. The kids all scored. I mean, just nerveless, to be truthful. But let's also keep a sense of proportion. The result didn't matter, monkeys. The result, it didn't matter. In the great throes of things. I mean, when we played our first pre-season friendly a year ago before this season and were 2-0 down the Gateshead, I didn't say, oh, goodness gracious, we are going to have a horrendously bad season. And then when we come back to win 3-2, think, oh, well, that's all right then. It was just a fitness exercise. And these friendly, you don't want to get beaten 6. Of course you don't. But outside of that, the result didn't matter. The PR exercise is what mattered. And the best figures that come out of that match weren't 1-1 or 5-4 and penalty. There were 78,000. That was the best figure of the whole evening, and that was the attendance. That is what those 2 sides going all the way from London, because we were in London, having played Brentford, to Aussie. That's what it was all about, 78,000.
Yeah, it was, and it's a good exercise, not only to recruit new fans, down under, and to give the expats a chance to see Newcastle United, but also FFP. And like we said, we know that Newcastle will be paid, as Spurs have, handsomely to go down there, and that helps the FFP. Ian, I would agree with you. He says Ashby looked stronger. I'd keep him in the squad next season. Livramento won't be fit for a season, and Trippier is done. I don't think Livramento is going to be, is going to be injured long term. It was an ankle injury, and he's going to be okay to start the season. But Livramento will, I would imagine, if Trippier departs, for example, would be your first choice right back. I like Ashby. I've got to be honest, and what I've seen of him, it's only limited, John. But he looks a decent player, and he can score goals, and I think Eddie could probably get the best out of him.
Yeah, it was interesting. That signing almost went under the radar, didn't it? Because we had Trippier, we immediately signed Ashby and send him out, and we buy Livramento, and you're thinking, wait a minute, how many right backs do we want? But that doesn't mean something, does it? It does. There you are. He hasn't gone to Australia.
He's arrived.
He hasn't gone to Australia. There he is.
No.
Oh,
how are you doing, mate?
So, thanks to the who I'm staying with, she has actually.
Oh, it's a pity. We can't get you. Your internet's not good enough, Mal.
Me through. How I don't know.
Oh, it's such a pity, Malcolm. It's a bit delayed. We can't quite hear you. We've got a great picture, but the sound isn't great enough. What a pity. We might get you. We might have a quick ad. But it's good. Your surroundings look great, Malcolm. Are you having a good time?
Pity we can't hear him. He'll be answering us, you know. Malcolm will be answering us. We just don't know what he's saying. Unless you have a lip reader. Let him keep trying him and suddenly bob up again and join us somewhere along the line.
Yeah. Sorry, Malcolm. It's not a great connection. We'll have to take you out, mate, unfortunately. But if you can improve the internet connection, we'll bring you back. But thanks for at least appearing on the show to say good evening, and we'll catch you next week. Look forward to it, mate. Take care, mate. Bye-bye.
All right. Now,
see you, pal.
Tomorrow with you, John. All right.
Good stuff. There you go. Malcolm did appear briefly. He just appeared out of nowhere, John.
Oh, I just suddenly popped up there. I mean, I thought he was on his way to Australia. Suddenly he's on the subs bench and he's coming on to play the second half.
Okay, if you've got any questions for me and John, get them in. We've got a couple there lined up. So if you've got any, we'll have a quick ad break and we will be back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk, telephone 01768 210 102, or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to United Group Travel. There are no strangers in our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460, or mobile 0791 666 4174. Thanks to Media Arts for the technical side of things. And you can also find us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button underneath this video. Hit the all notifications bell so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumb up to like the channel and click share to your social media. If you want to join the channel, then click join for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become a member, for a one-off £25 payment, email john@nufcmatters.com or go to membership at the website nufcmatters.com. If you've got a smartphone, hold your camera over the QR code and it'll take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk to the matchday bucket and you can leave a virtual donation today. And don't forget the end of season due, 20th of July, nufc Matters presents Supermac and Gibbo and Ask George live on stage along with the Long Sands in aid of Dementia Matters. Tickets are a tenner from nufcmatters.com and newcastlelegends.com. And Gibbo and Rob Lee will be appearing at the City Hall on Friday, the 2nd of August. And tickets for that are available either direct from the venue or by going to the website ticketmaster.co.uk and just search Rob Lee. That'll be a good night, that Gibbo. Bet you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am indeed. I'm also looking forward to a podcast at the Irish Centre that Supermac will actually turn up for because he doesn't need a connection on his internet. He's there live in person.
It's funny, Julie, one of the moderators, said, "Could we do the adverts halfway through the end of season due, just so we don't feel we're missing out?" That's a good idea. We'll make it the adverts on the big screen. Plenty questions coming in. I'm not sure we'll get through all of them, but obviously Dan Ashworth's an interesting one. Trulls mentioned it. Paul says on a different subject, how stupid is Dan Ashworth? We're best shot of him if he's this big of a plank that we're seeing. Yeah, it was big. It was big news, that, wasn't it, this week? And it's a story that just seems like it's going to run and run, John.
Yeah, I mean, how stupid can you be? I mean, you know, you send an email to to the Newcastle United site. I mean, please. I'm not suggesting that I'm naive enough to think that after all my years in football, that I'm not totally aware of all the tapping up that goes on within football, both people trying to get Newcastle United people and Newcastle United people trying to get other people. Tapping happens in football. That hasn't shocked me, rigid. It's not Enid Blyton or Cliff Richard stuff. It happens in football. But to be stupid enough to be talking about it in print and to leave it, and for it to happen so quickly after Dan Ashworth comes. We pushed the boat out to get him. We got him here. We give him a great deal. He loved the deal. He signed the deal. And then all of a sudden, when he come to work, he didn't like it as much. He didn't like the job as much the way it was here. And then all of a sudden, Manchester United come in and he wants to leave. I mean, regardless of this last little bit, if he wants to go, let him go. It's not the end of the world for us. But what has happened with this email saying that he wants to go is rank stupidity, isn't it? And he's now going down the route of, things that was said by Eddie Howe. I couldn't work at the club anymore, so therefore I was sacked, etc., etc. That's ridiculous. He sent this email about wanting to leave us long before Eddie Howe was asked in a press conference what the situation was, and he just said, I don't like the fact that Dan Ashworth, who looks as if he's going to be leaving, has got all our access to our internet with all our private stuff on about our transfer targets, etc., etc. He had every right to say that. It has all been an absolute nonsense, and the sooner it's all resolved, and we have got to resolve our situation, because it looks as if Duke Friedman is going to stay at Crystal Palace. So we've got to solve who's coming in, as well as when we let Dan Ashworth go out.
Yeah, I just want to, before I touch on that, I just want to say to everybody watching on different formats, we're gone live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter as usual tonight, as well as YouTube. And we've got over 250 watching on YouTube, but the rest of you are watching on those other formats. So if you enjoyed the show, please jump onto YouTube. All you need to do is click subscribe. It is free. We do 7 shows a week, and your support will be greatly appreciated. As I say, we do the shows for free. So please pop on, hit the subscribe button, and keep the NUFC Matters community growing. Yeah, you mentioned about Friedman. I mean, that's come out this morning that he's going to stay at Crystal Palace. Alan Thompson asked the question earlier, with Ashworth gone and Friedman from Palace knocking us back, it does not give a good look. Do you think they will give the job to Steve Nixon, who was already there?
Well, I also noticed, as well as what Alan said there, something from Roger where he's saying, Friedman's used our interest to feather his own nest at Palace. And that's probably so, Roger. And, as far as I'm concerned, if people want to leave us like Dan Ashworth, off you go. If Friedman doesn't want to come here, off you go as well. Because we are a big enough club. We're a bigger club than Crystal Palace. We are a better run club than Manchester United. So why should we just end up second to them? As far as Nixon's concerned, it's very interesting. His standing within the club is huge.
Yeah.
Whatever title he has, whether it's the one he keeps, whether he's given the overall title, and I don't think he will. I think they'll bring someone else in. They'll look elsewhere. But Steve Nixon is right at the centre of everything Newcastle do. And he is hugely regarded by the club. And his position is absolutely secure, whatever handle you put on the job he does.
Yeah, going to be interesting to watch how that goes. It really is. Alan also asked a question, with Chelsea's manager departing, do you think Eddie Howe would be tempted to go there? I think the answer is no, John, isn't it?
I tell you what, he's more likely to put his head in a sausage machine than go to Chelsea. I mean, dear God. I mean, he might go to Chelsea for the flower show, but I don't think he'll go to Chelsea to work for the football club, because they're nonsensical. I mean, who would work for that guy, the American guy that's running Chelsea? I mean, has he got any idea at all, or does he just get up in the morning, his knee jerks, and he just does whichever way the knee's pointing? I mean, it is stupid. I mean, he's the luckiest guy in the world, the owner, having made a total and utter mess of the transfer policy of his own club. He gets Poch in, who is slaughtered early doors when he goes there because there's such a mess within the club. And he organises it so well, and I'm furious with the guy, but he organises it so well, they lose about one of the last 16, they win the last 5 on the trot, they go from being a joke to overtaking us and finishing above us and nicking a guaranteed European place. And what's he get for that? Boy, the American owner takes him out for dinner and evidently never what to talk about. What Disneyland, where they're going on holiday, what's it like in Argentina, what's the Pampas like, what did they talk about? Because they didn't talk about his future. And 2 days later, he gets the other co-owner to get him on the blower and then get rid of him. I mean, as a Newcastle United diehard, I'm thrilled to bits.
Yeah, me too.
Because Chelsea are starting all over again, and the next manager will have as much chance of doing anything as the others have had. And this puts Chelsea all the way back. Poch was organising it. The players absolutely adored him. He took them from being a laughing stock to making Europe. Mm-hmm. And the American owner, what's he want them to do? Win the Super Bowl, like? I mean, it's so stupid. I mean, Poch's standing is soared sky high again after Paris Saint-Germain and all that. He had Spurs because of what he did down there.
Yeah.
And there's players that have gone online and said, you know, from Palmer to whoever, Gaffer, so sorry to lose it. It has deflated their camp. I'm thrilled to bits. That's a plus because you're looking at next season, Steve, and you're saying, what will Newcastle have to contend with next season? Well, you wonder, a year ago, we were the side that come out the woodwork and finished 4th top and made the Champions League. This season, Aston Villa come out the woodwork and finish 4th top. Is somebody going to do that next season? If somebody was, you would think Crystal Palace, with their new manager since Hodgson went, and they're 3 attackers, they've got as good a front 3 as anybody in the Premier League. Palace, I don't think they might be able to hold on to all 3 of them this summer because people want to sign Olise and Eddie's and the French guys scoring goals for fun. But they could come out of it. But there are buts. Yeah. Can Manchester United get better than they've done now? Well, they can't get worse. Chelsea might have been a real problem, but not now. Spurs, with big hands, they could go up, down, sideways, any way you like. So I am delighted with Chelsea, and I'm thrilled to bits that they've got somebody that bought their club who's absolutely hopeless. And we've got people that have bought our club, and regardless of the political situation, and I'm not going to get into that, we all know what that is, but they're running the club correctly. And Chelsea aren't running the club correctly.
Yeah, they've had something like 9 managers in 10 years. It's crazy. And I just wish I wish this had happened 10 games ago, and then Newcastle would have been in the Europa without
there's no question, mate. Thank you very much for getting into Europe. Now you've got the tin tack getting in the door queue. Like, I mean, it is absolutely nonsense. It really is nonsense. And the funny thing is that Chelsea have a history of having short-term managers. They had that under Abramovich, But you know what happened? He was amazing. Because Abramovich, they won the league or they won the Champions League. But after they won something, he sacked the manager, got a new manager in, and they won something again. Yeah. Abramovich, now they win nothing and they keep sacking the managers. I mean, you go through Potter and everyone, and you've got no chance. The kid that's just brought Ipswich up 2 divisions.
Yeah.
If he wants to halt his career, go to Chelsea.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's becoming a laughing stock of the club. It really is. And you've got to question. You've got to question the owner's mentality at times. But let's move on. Let's move on. There's a few more questions to get through. Jason said, "Who does John think was Newcastle's best crosser of a ball in his time covering the club?"
Covering the club, not just in the last season.
Yeah, I think it's got to be covering the club, that question.
Yes.
Terry Hibbert?
That's a terrific. It's got to be. I mean, there's a great case that Malcolm makes for Stuart Barraclough because of his pace, and he knocked it near post or far post, and never with snow on it. He drove it in, which means it's much better to get power on a header, on a driven cross rather than the looping cross.
Mhm.
But Hibbert is quite something special. It's got to be said, that whether it's Murphy or whether it's Barnes or whether it's Gordon, we get good service from out wide with pace. We get good service in the last year. I've got no complaints over it. I would, what you mentioned earlier, Steve, when we were talking about transfer targets, you can improve on everything, Unless you're talking about Messi in his pomp or Ronaldo in his pomp, you can or Shearer in his pomp when it's centre forward. You can improve on everybody. And I would like an outside right. Almiron is not the answer if you're trying to be a top 4 club on a regular basis. He is not the answer. Let's cash in on him because we've got to cash in on somebody. And Murphy, I think, is a terrific squad player. You've got to have people to sit on the bench who's willing to come on. Murphy would be willing to do that, and he is good at doing that, but he's not a starter. And, we can put Gordon over there and Barnes on the left, but do we want to play Gordon on his wrong side? We might have to play one of them on his wrong side because both Gordon and Barnes will think they're first-team regulars, come the beginning of the season. But I would like to see a centre forward, an outside right, 2 centre halves, and a number 6.
Okay, well, that answers the question that we got asked by somebody earlier on, wanting to know. I think it was Barry Hogan wanting to know what kind of what players would like to see. And few mentions. RG Fox, it's not Rule Fox, is it? He was a good winger. Kevin Sheedy was a top crosser. Scott Sellers, you've got to mention Scott Sellers in the same breath as Sheedy, same era. And I would say Solano as well. Somebody mentioned Solano.
Nobby Solano was terrific. He, getting these names off the top of our head, Nobby Solano was as good as you can get. And I know that Alan Shearer thinks an awful lot of Nobby Solano, and Alan Shearer liked good crossers. And Nobby was exactly that.
Shearer was good. Shearer was good there, wasn't he? Shearer was a good crosser of the ball as well. I mean, he put that one in for Rob Lee at Wembley.
He was a good finisher as well. That was his second ball to his ball, was that he could actually finish. I know that one of the guys. Well, Gillespie certainly, as far as Tino is concerned, against Barcelona, absolutely. I saw one of the scores of messages along the bottom, and I don't see them all when you're talking, but you see them from time to time. And one guy come up there with a very interesting point. Luke Edwards is a very good friend of mine, the guy that works at the Telegraph. That's the one there. And he has carried that story today. And that both shocks me and interests me because I rate Luke, and if Luke says something, then I don't dismiss it easily. But 2 things I would say about that. I'd be staggered if Bone was allowed to leave West Ham. We almost signed him under Steve Bruce. That's hard to imagine, isn't it? Steve Bruce was actually on the verge of making a very good signing.
Yeah. He made the right choice going to West Ham, then.
Sorry?
He made the right choice going to West Ham.
Instead of coming here in those days.
He would have been looking at Bone going, there's a player in there somewhere, but I can't find him.
But that's an interesting one. The other one frightens me to death. Calvert-Lewin. I mean, are you going to replace Callum Wilson, who most of the time is in a hospital bed, with Calvert-Lewin, who most of the time is in a hospital bed? Yeah. I mean, it's you're replacing a quality centre forward in Callum Wilson, who's got huge drawbacks, with a quality centre forward, Calvert-Lewin, who's got huge drawbacks. Both have got England caps because they've got quality. Both aren't going to the Euros because they've got injuries. Please don't replace Callum Wilson with another clock. I couldn't stand the agony of it.
Yeah, I would agree. 750 watching tonight. Thank you very much. If you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, please jump over to YouTube after the show. Look for nufc matters and please subscribe. John, any idea who Newcastle are getting for the Cellar Cup friendlies? We're going to be doing the Cellar Cup again. Of course, we're defending champions of that, John. Do you think we might get Dortmund?
I wish you would stop trying to tell me we've kept winning trophies in my time. I mean, I want you to behave yourself. I think we actually won a second division at some time, like twice, didn't we? But I don't hate to count that because we should
Japan Cup 1982, Intertoto Cup, John, which is now the Europa Conference. We've won
Texaco Cup twice under Joe Harvey. The greatest results Joe ever got. Forget about the European Face Cup. He won the Texaco Cup twice.
Exactly. See, you're getting into my kind of mentality now.
Did we win a trophy the other night when we had the penalty shootout?
No, I think we've got to play the All Stars at the weekend to win the trophy.
I thought we might have won an egg cup or something, but so if we beat the All Stars, which is going to be our bunch of kids.
Yeah,
we might be top of the league and come back from Oz with a trophy as we come back with the Japan Cup. Can you remember that? That's
1982.
Hey?
1982, I remember it clear as day.
I actually arrived at the airport or something and went down the stairs with the cup.
Yeah, Keegan was in it. Keegan was there holding it aloft. Great days, that.
I mean,
Great
Kevin,
days.
bless him. I mean, he'd won everything with Liverpool and then won everything with Hamburg. And I mean, when we won the second division, can you remember when the entertainers on their way up to what they did in the Premier League, when they won the second division, and we actually had a bus take us round town with the second division trophy on. Can you remember that? Yeah, I mean, it was a second division trophy, but we were going all over the shop. There we are with that. But I'm talking about it's embarrassing.
There it is. That's the Japan Cup.
I mean, I thought it was one of the toilets you get in hospital. You know, when you're bedridden. It looks a bit like that, doesn't it? I thought it was when you're bedridden in hospital.
John, I'm going to get that on a T-shirt. I'm going to get that on a T-shirt.
Oh, I mean, I'm trying desperately, Steve, to forget all the silly cups we've won and pray we're about to win a meaningful one. But that was the thing. Just getting back to what I was saying about Keegan when he became manager, and we'd almost gone in the third division and we won the second division title, and we decided we'd take a bus round town because John Hall had just taken over the club. The excitement was immense, etc., etc., etc. And and we did, and we took it, and it was received marvelously and all that. And KK was on the coach. Do you know? Because I was involved with the Magpie Group. When KK was told we're taking I was on the inside because of the Magpie Group. We're taking this coach round town to show the trophy for winning the second division championship. He initially refused to get on. He said, "You're joking, aren't you? I'll get on a coach round Newcastle when we win something of note, when we win the first division title or the FA Cup or the League Cup. I'm not going." I mean, he'd won the European Cup with Liverpool, the first division championship with Liverpool, everything with Hamburg. And he thought getting on the bus to celebrate winning a second division championship, and he had to be persuaded to get on, and he was persuaded, and he got on. But his mentality is right.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, that photograph is fantastic. Lots of people, like RG Fox says, I'm sure I've got an SEO token with a Tyne winning the Centenary Cup in the 70s. I might be wrong. Julie wants to know if the music from the Ghost was playing over that when that trophy was made, probably.
I can remember quite regularly. I mean, we've been regular cup winners. We've got to be truthful. We've won the Northumberland Senior Cup at least twice.
Yeah, fantastic. See, there we've won it again this year. Brilliant.
Oh, well, I'm getting sick of trophies. I am. Honestly, I am. And that is the nicest looking trophy I've ever seen, that Japan Cup.
It was. George says, does Gibbo think the rest of the media will be shocked at the amount of merchandise Newcastle sell? I think we've got a long way to go to catch up with the likes of Manchester United, etc. It's all part of FFP, isn't it? And I mean, the new strip will be revealed next month as well, John. So merchandise sales and commercial sales, it all goes towards the FFP and helps the club grow, doesn't it, John?
Which is why we were in Australia. But I'll tell you what, if we get the slightest sniff of success, we've got obsessive fans all over the world when we've got no right to be. And a lot of them are expats, of course they are, but a lot aren't. And I mean, I've talking to all sorts of people, and I've been doing television in Scandinavia. I'm very big in Scandinavia. We've been doing television over there about Newcastle, etc., etc. And there's a huge interest in Newcastle, and they've got a huge fan base. If we have anything like success, we will very quickly have a massive fan base throughout the world, because we've got fans all over America, as we know. We've got all the different sites from the American fans, etc., etc. We can very rapidly grow that side of the business, and that's what Aussie's been all about.
There you go, John. The copy of the programme, Japan Cup.
Honestly, I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to go off tonight after the show and have a celebratory drink. I'd forgot we won the Japan Cup. And we're going out to Japan again. So you can imagine that we're going to cause chaos out there. They're going to say, them cup winners are coming back to see us. Isn't that wonderful?
I wonder whether we might play the Japan Cup again. I might send an email to Newcastle United and ask them, are we going to go and defend it? Maybe that's what the whole thing's about. 1982-83 season.
If they can't find the cup to take it back to defend, they can always go up the RVI and get a replica of it.
This is the 41st anniversary of the Japan Cup. Maybe that's why they're going there. So that would be great.
This is disintegrating into farce. This.
Can I just? Well, I'm going to get it back on track, John. I just want to congratulate somebody for another brace last week. Not Newcastle United connected, nothing to do with teeth, but Chris Wood, John, 2 goals for Nottingham Forest last week.
Yes. I mean, honestly, if only we'd kept him, we would be in the Champions League for next season. I mean, it is absolute selling a quality number 9 who was on the verge of being a number 9 legend here is absolutely broken my heart. It is an awful thing to do. And I think that if Isaac thinks his 25 goals for Newcastle this season matches anywhere near Chris Wood's 14 for Nottingham Forest, then he's got another thing coming. I mean, the thing with the Chris Wood, and good luck to with the lad, because he's a lovely lad, but the way Forest plays geared completely to a big Gray's Monument centre forward doing some damage in the penalty area. The play towards that. He's never had a season like that before, and he'll never have a season like that again. And I'm just going to, and I know that you are the president of the fan club, and you're a secret closet Nottingham Forest fan because of Chris Wood. And I realise that, and I don't want to bring you out of the cupboard and let all the fans know your real love, which is Chris Wood and Nottingham Forest. But may I just ask you, and may I ask other Newcastle United fans, would you prefer to watch Chris Wood or Alexander Isak? And not just on goals, on movement, on elegance, on pace, on all the things that make life wonderful. And when you then come back to me and say you would much prefer to watch Chris Wood because he's your type of centre forward, then I would say to you, at Newcastle United, Chris Wood, bless him, has a wonderful record. He has scored more Premier League goals at St James's Park for Nottingham Forest than he did for Newcastle United. He got 3 in one game, and he didn't get 3 at St James's Park for Newcastle United in about 856 seasons.
Well, we're not going to see him next season.
I must admit, and I'm sort of going to come out the woodwork and admit the truth now. I have been decimated since the day he left us because I thought we have lost a potential number 9 legend there.
Yes, well, he's not going to win the Ballon d'Or, but Paul Patterson gets where I'm coming from. Chris Wood would have been available when Isak and Wilson weren't this season, and that would have been better than having nobody. That's where I was coming from. He would have made a good squad player, but I managed to get my last reference to Chris Wood in. He's back in the Championship now. Some might say that's where he belongs. So unfortunately, I'll have to close the lid on the Chris Wood obsession. But Tim says Steve has got a talk organised with John Gibson and Chris Wood when he retires. I will do. Yes, I'll sort that out for Gibbo. I'm sure he'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that, and I think it would sell a lot of tickets actually.
Well, I'd certainly buy one. Anyway,
and Chris Wood would buy one.
His mum and dad. Paul Patterson says, why do Norway's submarines have barcodes on the bottom? Answer, so they can Scandinavian. Sorry, not sorry. Thank you, mate, for that little joke there. And where we're going to go, one more question. Yeah, we'll talk about Paqueta before we finish. Ian says, hi all. With Paqueta being charged by the FA for breaching betting rules, I wonder will he get the same Tony Tonali treatment? I don't like to see players get banned. I think he probably will, won't he, John? He's I've just seen the words, I've cooperated. I don't understand why they're doing this, but they've got to follow suit, haven't they? He's going to have to get a ban.
Well, can you? I mean, of course you can. Once you've got a set of rules, which aren't just, let us remember, for this country, the worldwide. Tonali was banned by the Italian FA and then it become a worldwide ban. Our FA just tagged their little bit on the end. Can you imagine if Paqueta didn't get a ban, what Tonali's going to think? What Ivan Toney's going to think? He's got to have a ban, and he will get a ban, and he will be found guilty because they never reached this stage. Can you name me the last person that's faced a charge and the answer's been not guilty? If you face a charge, you're found guilty. And great, it'll weaken West Ham next season. I mean, Bruno will not be too pleased, bless him, but I mean, Paqueta can come up and stay in Bruno's house and watch a good football team next season. Yes. Because he'll have plenty time to do it.
Yeah, the lad from Villa did walk away clean, Tim. You're right there. And yes, Chris Wood will be in the Premier League, but I'm not going to speak about him next season. Well done, everyone, picking us up on that. Barry was the one who asked the question about, he says, if we get two centre-backs on a free, and I love the way he says, Mama the goalie in, because it's Keshavelli, I think, that he's talking about. Where should we look at next? Again, a forward. We need another goal scorer just in case. Listen, if we keep Wilson and Isak this season, if they both stay, Isak we expect. Wilson, I guess it's a flip of a coin. They decide what they want to do, give him a new contract, etc. But if we keep both of them, we still need somebody to score goals, John, don't we?
There's no question. I mean, it doesn't make sense if you just look at stats, because we topped 100 in all competitions, we topped 85 in the Premier League, but it does make sense. Can you expect every one of these players to do the same season after season? Can you expect Isak to get at least another 25? Can you expect Gordon to get in double figures? Gordon scored more goals for Newcastle this season than he did for Everton in the whole of his career there. Do you know that? All of it, not just one season. So we have got to overhit and over ice the cake again next year. We can't do that. We cannot rely on Callum. I mean, that's obvious. Callum, bless him, at the end of the season, he comes back, he scores 2 goals in 2 games, and he says that he can get in the Euros. Mm-hmm. He never plays again. He never starts again after that in the Premier League during the run-in. His goals per game record will always be great, but his appearance record will always be poor. And we cannot rely on that. We can't rely. We had 15 different goal scorers in the season just ended. And we had Longstaff and Bruno doing brilliant. We had Isak out his skin, the greatest since Shearer 20 years ago. We can't automatically expect that to happen again. We must have a number 9. Do you know any side that goes in that doesn't have 2 centre forwards that's at the top? Yes, you may talk about Arsenal because they haven't got the orthodox to play Havertz, who doesn't play it in the normal way. But you need another centre forward. But that's where I've said, let's not replace Wilson with the Everton guy, because that's just tragedy for tragedy.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Great show tonight. Malcolm will be back next week, and thanks for at least trying to get on. I'm sure he'll probably be watching in some way, shape, or form. But John, have a great weekend. What are you doing? Anything? Are you doing anything exciting now that you haven't got any football to cover this weekend? Or are you going to be watching the FA Cup final?
I'm going to watch the FA Cup final, and I will have a big light blue rosette on just about here, and I'll be shouting, "Come on, you Holland," and all things like that, and I'll be voting everything to be Manchester City, and I don't quite know why, but I will be doing that, and if that helps us when we come out the other end, that's absolutely terrific. And considering Manchester United having a goal-scoring centre-forward like Chris Wood, I think Manchester City might just win because they have got a goal-scoring centre-forward. So I'm going for Manchester City. I'm going for us being in Europe, and then it'll turn out to be very nice. The weather, even though it's been horrendous for the last 2 days, the sun will shine on Saturday afternoon.
I hope so. Chris Wood is the new Haaland, it says Ian McKenna. On that, we'll finish on that. And Mr. Fox says, cheers, lads. Grand show. Chinka plunk from Ashington. Thank you very much, Mr. Fox. Great to have you on the show, and nice to see new face in the chat. Don't forget, if you have watched on one of the other platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, jump onto YouTube now. Just find nufc Matters. Please subscribe. We'll do 7 shows a week. Back 5 o'clock tomorrow night with the 3 amigos. Until then, good night, everybody. Take care, Gibbo.
Take care, my friend.